Hi everyone, Dave Bradshaw here, alongside RevPro owner and matchmaker Andy Quildan. We've just come off air live in Sheffield, and my goodness, there have been some developments here this afternoon that have major consequences for the weeks ahead as we continue on the road to Wembley. So let's start with our main event. It was a feud that had been boiling over in recent weeks. We decided the only way that it could possibly be settled was with a 30-minute iron fist match. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's like an Iron Man or an Iron Woman match, except that if there is a knockout at any stage, then that ends the match. And my goodness, that part of the rules certainly came into play between Kanji and Rio. What a match.
Yeah, well, look, Dave, like I said it in the build-up, didn't I? It's one of the most intriguing matches in all of professional wrestling. It's one of the most physically demanding matches in all of professional wrestling. And when you talk about wrestling strategy, wrestling being a game of human chess, that's what it's all about. That's what it all was. And you saw it in full effect. And it was such an interesting strategy employed by both women in the contest. I feel like Rio almost had that perfect game plan in the contest, but like you say, boom, like that, it can all be over with a knockout blow. As a result, Kanji goes on to July 25th's Women's Grand Prix, live from the Hangar in Wolverhampton, 2 shows in one day. And of course, the winner of that Women's Grand Prix goes on to the OVO Arena in Wembley to challenge for that undisputed British Women's Championship against whomever the champion is. And obviously, we could probably have some news about Alexis Falcon over the next few weeks as well, if you ask the right questions. But that was a fantastic main event. It was a very worthy main event on a very newsworthy show here in Sheffield. And Kanji and Rio, as they have done in each and every contest, and again, every contest has been different from the other. And I strongly recommend, like checking out all the stops on their journey. You can see a lot of the highlights. We put together a chronology of their highlights here on the YouTube channel. But if you've got the time, take that time to respect world-class professional wrestling between 2 of the best professional wrestlers plying their trade in the world today. And it was great to see the sign of respect from both women at the end of it. And for once, what I wanted to achieve came out of this. So many times I say it would be great, when we put these matches together, often we want, especially when they go into a contest and it's just about the pure spirit of competition. And you really want the wrestlers to shake hands at the end of it and be able to move on without this escalating into, even further. And there were times when when Kanji and Rio did escalate, and, the professional rivalry became very much personal. But I think tonight was a great advert for the art of the sport of professional wrestling and women's professional wrestling and the women's division here in Revolution Pro Wrestling. So just a fantastic main event.
And of course, now their journeys are going to diverge. We don't know what's next for Rio. We do know what's next for Kanji, because as a result of winning that match, she's going to enter the Women's Grand Prix coming Saturday, July 25th.
Yeah, and listen, she may well be compromised going into that match as well, because you saw towards the end of that contest, hurt that shoulder, medic got involved, and that may have, ironically, won her the contest because the momentum was very much on Rio's side at that point. And referee Sandy Beachy, she didn't call for a knockout at that point. Kanji was wanted to stay in the contest, but she had a discretion there, the referee, and she wanted to keep the match alive. And that time may have saved Kanji there. So again, I'm glad that it wasn't that call. From Rio's perspective, it didn't seem to make Rio bitter or anything like that. She was beaten on the day, and I think she took that result in good faith. But yeah, Kanji's now going into that Women's Grand Prix compromise. But
no, well, Kanji takes, by my count, the 7th spot in the Women's Grand Prix, because we'd already announced 5 as of last week. We had a 6th this past week on social media. JGU was announced, but if I'm right, that leaves 1 empty spot. So you're going to tell me?
Well, Dave, by this point, depending on what time the wrap up goes out, at this point people may already know the answer. But the last spot in the Women's Grand Prix, representing Japan, will be Jungle Kiona.
Ooh.
So she'll be making her UK wrestling debut, her Revolution Pro Wrestling debut on July the 25th. Jungle Kiona coming to Revolution Pro Wrestling. And it's very, very exciting because she's got a tremendous body of work. And she's someone who's overcome a lot of injuries to kind of get herself back on the scene. And she's 100% healthy now, ready to go. And it's going to be a great welcome introduction to RevPro by putting it in that Women's Grand Prix. So we've got a world-class field across the board, and everyone keeps asking me about meet and greets as well. Yes, there will be meet and greets for Women's Grand Prix. There'll be opportunities to meet everyone on the bill across the two shows. So watch out for those in the coming days, because it'll be before the end of this week. We release all that information. We'll also be releasing more information about the rest of the card, or the rest of the two cards across that one day at the Hangar in Wolverhampton. So if you haven't already and you want to support the Women's Grand Prix, you want to support Revolution Pro Wrestling, independent professional wrestling, get your tickets now at revolutionprowrestling.com.
Now, of course, the winner of the Women's Grand Prix will get a guaranteed shot at the undisputed British Women's Championship at our 14-year anniversary, August 29th, the OVO Arena, Wembley. So let's talk a little bit about the current champion, Alexis Falcon, because she has challenges coming from all sides. We know about Alice Inc., who we talked about last week, who she was able to, at least for now, dodge 1 week ago in London. We had an interesting debut here this afternoon on the part of Lucy Sky, getting the better of Sky Smithson, who of course is allied with Alexis Falcon. Now, you kind of broke a bit of news on commentary this afternoon as well, though, which is that you are going to be insisting that Alexis Falcon defends that championship on the way to Wembley, so that she can't just duck and dive and swerve out of every possible championship defence en route. Can you tell us any more about those plans?
Well, listen, we're going to have a women's championship defence at Summer Sizzler. We're going to have a women's championship at the Women's Grand Prix. We're going to have a women's championship defence at the Portchester Hall, right?
So 3 weeks in a row.
So 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that Alexis Falcon is going to be the champion for all of those 3 weeks.
No.
Alexis Falcon could lose the championship. And
you've got to think the odds, free opportunities to lose it. You've got to think the odds are pretty high.
So come the end of August 2nd, we will know the final destination of the undisputed British Women's Championship match at the OVO Arena, Wembley, because we will know who's won that Women's Grand Prix, and we will know who has held on to that Women's Championship. So that's going to be happening in the lead up to the Women's Grand Prix. To the 14-year anniversary show. So the next 3 weeks are going to be a big 3 weeks in our women's division. Whilst the eyeballs of the world are on the women's division, it's exciting time.
So who are the opponents? Come on.
You'll find out, Dave. You'll find out. So...
Okay, never mind. Look, let's turn our attention to other events here this afternoon. One of the main headlines, of course, we have new undisputed British tag team champions. A huge combination, a huge just range of events here this afternoon that really contributed to a real change in the way things are possibly going to go at Wembley. Starting with Ethan Allen of the Young Guns confirming that despite what he said last week, where he felt that the knee injury he suffered in London may not have been all that severe, he is not medically cleared to compete at Summer Sizzler next weekend in Bradford. He's still hopeful, at least, that maybe he will be for that huge match that's scheduled against FTR at Wembley. That meant that obviously the match between Young Guns and Slater Dojo for the titles was off for Bradford. And in amongst all that, the Slater Dojo, or at least Liam Slater, came out to gloat. Leon seemed less comfortable doing that. That brought Cowboy Way out, who then insisted again, as they've been doing on social media all week, that the tag titles be put on the line in the match between Cowboy Way and Slater Dojo tonight. Leon Slater accepted that request, although Liam wasn't very happy about it. And in the end, the chickens came home to roost, didn't they?
Well, yeah, look, it's very much a case of cause and effect, wasn't it? Like every action had a reaction, which led to this wild chain of events. So look, let's start at the top with Ethan Allen. Of course, like we said last week, he had to wait for the swelling to go down until he could understand the full extent of the injury, but he was feeling a lot better. Of course, we know in these situations that when you have these injuries, very often, like the first 12 hours or so, you can't really tell too much, because first of all, the initial adrenaline which is going through your system, and then the initial adrenaline dump and pain, etc. And then you got to wait for the swelling to subside before people can look at it and take a look at it properly. Now, Ethan Allen had an MRI on Saturday, so yesterday. He's yet to have the results. We're hoping we'll get the results in the next couple of days, and certainly by the end of the week, we're hoping to kind of have a better understanding of what Ethan Allen's situation is. So look, nothing in regards to Wembley is changing just yet. We want to give him every single opportunity to be able to make that dream clash. Is it a possibility that things could change? Absolutely it is, but that's, you know, the nature of the beast in terms of professional wrestling. It's always cards subject to change. Now, and that's very much the case of the immediate future, because we can deal with what's happening in the immediate future. And that's what you saw tonight. You know, Cowboy Way seen it as an opening, seen it as an opportunity to try and get themselves a tag team championship match tonight. Like you say, Leon Slater accepted on behalf of the Slater Dojo. That power struggle seemed to continue between Leon and Liam. And look, the big story, two big stories coming out of this. Number one, Cowboy Way, new undisputed British tag team champions. There was some, look, Leon Slater, he seemed to, ironically in this whole situation, you know, he seemed to tweak his knee. You saw the knee give away. He's working on one leg. And as he was climbing to the top rope, presumably he was looking for that Swanton 450. Liam Slater tagged himself in. Right now, Leon, when he was saying to Leon, you know, you're not fit. You know, I know what's best, and he's guided Leon's career, and you know he's got a vested interest in Leon's career, etc. And he didn't want to see Leon in the situation where he was continuing to compete stubbornly on one leg, perhaps risking further damage. Leon then goes on to hit that Swanton 450, but Liam Slater's a legal man. He makes a cover, but the cover he made, you know, for someone who talks about wrestling technique, for someone who talks about the little margins, and someone who's so smart when it comes to the sport of professional wrestling, Liam Slater made a schoolboy error. The way that he pinned Thomas Shire, just draping his arms across him, opening himself up with that crucifix, 1, 2, 3, and boom, just like that, new undisputed British tag team champions. Now, what that means for Cowboy Way, we'll see. We know their immediate future is back to America.
Okay, but I'm going to stop you because I want to get some absolute clarity on the next thing you're about to talk about, right? Which is that Liam Slater had a plan B. All right, he didn't tell. Michael Oku came out to the ring, which was unexpected because what's Michael Oku got to do with this situation? Oku then said he'd had a conversation with Liam Slater. Apparently, RevPro management was somewhere involved in this conversation because now, as far as I can tell, and you can correct me if I've got my facts wrong here, Liam Slater seems to have kind of massaged the ego of Michael Oku, saying, hey, you should be in the main event in Bradford. And by the way, I've had a conversation with management. If you agree to put your title on the line against Leon in Bradford, then if you survive that, you won't have to defend it anymore on the road to Wembley. What exactly happened?
Look, I don't like to air details about how we put matches together. Look, my job is to make matches. My job is to put together the best cards possible for the fans. Now, often when we talk about Liam Slater, when we talk about the Slater Dojo, often involves some negotiation. But look, the reality of the situation is we are left without a main event for our summer Sizzler in Bradford next week. Leon Slater's hometown, Slater Dojo home turf. And we know the original match, Slater Dojo versus the Young Guns, 2 out of 3 falls for the undisputed British Tag Team Championships. Now, we're left without a main event. It puts us in a very sticky situation. And like I want to stress as well, this isn't one of those premeditated bait and switches or anything like that. Everything that you're seeing is real. Everything that you're seeing is not like I say, it's not bait and switch. This is not classic wrestling promoter behavior, right? This is real life, right? We hoped Ethan would be fit. Every word he said at the conclusion of last week, it gave us the indication Ethan would be fit. And it became very clear to us today upon his arrival to the venue, checked out by medical staff again after obviously having his MRI yesterday. It became very clear he's not going to be available next week. And I guess this is where all the, the cogs began to turn for Liam. From my perspective, all of this came together during intermission today. It was a 15-minute intermission. This is where it all came together. And Liam came to me with a very compelling proposition about trying to put together Leon Slater versus Michael Oku, undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. We know the blockbuster contest that Slater and Oku have had over the years, the rivalry, the two men who want to be the flag bearers for Revolutionary Pro Wrestling, who want to be the flag bearers for British wrestling, for independent professional wrestling, the two best in class who bring out the best in each other each and every single time they compete against each other. And he said, imagine what it would be like if Leon Slater won that undisputed British Heavyweight Championship, became the youngest ever undisputed British Heavyweight Champion in his hometown of Bradford. Imagine the energy, the excitement, the atmosphere, and look, you want to put your best foot forward in this situation. But obviously, if we're going to make a match, we have to be able to negotiate. It has to be worthwhile for all the participants involved. And look, for Leon Slater, it's obviously a no-brainer. Liam knew he would take that. And with Michael Oku, it's about give and take, isn't it? And it's one of those things whereby Michael Oku, is he going to face Leon Slater on 6 days' notice without something at stake?
A carrot to dangle.
Without that carrot to dangle. And, in the past, it's always been about the company. It's always been about being Mr. RevPro. It's always about being Mr. Dependable. We remember when he took on Minoru Suzuki on a couple of hours' notice. We remember all the times he's done double duty. This has been Michael Oku. I don't think there should be any surprise. It's been Michael Oku throughout the years. But I feel Michael Oku's always done it for the people, but now he's starting to think more of himself. And he wants to walk in. You know how badly he wants to walk into the OVO Arena, Wembley, as the undisputed British heavyweight champion. He wants to headline the biggest show in Revolution Pro Wrestling history. And by defeating Leon Slater next week in Bradford, it would take him, it would give him exactly, it wouldn't take him one step closer to that goal. It would give him exactly what he wants. And that's that headline bout spot on a Saturday, August 29th, live from the OVO Arena in Wembley. However, it's a big gamble.
Huge.
Because he's going, and again, we use the terminology all the time. There's a lot of wrestling to be done between now and Wembley. So if Leon Slater gets a victory, then obviously that saying comes into play, doesn't it? There's a lot of wrestling to be done between now and Wembley.
But for Oku,
but if Oku wins, that's his road to Wembley complete. So this is where it is, Dave. And like you can judge all you want by the in terms of giving Michael Oku this, like you say, this carrot, so to speak. However, I've done what I've had to do in order to make the match, in order to make the best main event possible for our debut in Bradford. 6 days' time, Saturday, July the 18th, live from Bradford Live. And that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But live from Bradford Live, but Summer Sizzler 2026 is going to be huge. I can guarantee you. And if you don't believe me, check out any of Michael Oku and Leon Slater's previous contests.
It's mind-boggling to me. It's in the most fascinating way possible, because it potentially changes the entire trajectory of the road to the biggest show in Revolution Pro Wrestling history. And it came together in the interval. Like, someone's going to write a history of this stuff one day.
But this is what pro wrestling's all about. And I say it time and time again. The only constant is change, right? Yeah. We have to be fluid. Every situation is fluid, right? But what we have to do is always lead with our best foot forward. And this is my job. This is what I do. This is what we do week in, week out. And again, by running so many shows, it creates so many variables. It creates so much excitement. It means that people at home can fantasy book, that people at home can be thinking about what matches they want to make, and how things, result from one week to the next can completely change the entire landscape of professional wrestling as Revolution Pro Wrestling. And like you say, I think that history will look back upon this time very kindly, but the chaos that happens on a week in, week out basis is something else. I don't think people realize, and I think that since we've been doing these wrap ups every week, you can kind of see how, stuff flips and changes, etc., etc. There's a bit more documented or documentation. And if you were better at asking questions, you might get even more. But you get what I'm saying, right?
I get what you're saying. Yeah. We live in wild times is what we do. The fact that these kind of things can change on a dime like that is incredible. Look, let's focus on Summer Sizzler. There's so many more things that could change before Wembley, like you just said. But we do have a couple more matches announced for Summer Sizzler that I want to talk about, because we had developments involving both of those tonight. First of all, it's going to be Shah Samuels against man like Darius in Bradford. Darius not here today. He's in the United States today, so we knew he wasn't here.
Was he not here? Because I thought that...
Oh, you thought that was him?
For a second, they did, yeah.
Yeah, well, his music started playing. It was Shah Samuels mocking Darius' entrance. Samuels went on to get a win over Isaac Murray. I don't think when Darius sees that footage, he's going to take too kindly to it.
No, he takes himself very seriously, and he's not going to take that in good humour at all. And then Shah Samuels, I don't think Shah Samuels, it wasn't designed for Shah Samuels to make a man like Darius laugh. It was designed by Shah Samuels to try and provoke and wind up man like Darius and try and take him off his game. Look, Shah Samuels will take any advantage he can, right? And 6 days shy of that contest, Mental Edge, you would think is on the size of Shah Samuels, but we've yet to see how a man like Therese responds to it. But yeah, like I say, it's going to be very interesting when Shah Samuels and a man like Therese collide this coming Saturday, live from Bradford Live.
Lastly, I want to talk about the Revolution tag match we had here this afternoon, because there's a few stories coming out of that, not least of which was at the end there, it came down to David Francisco and JJ Gale whipping each other with straps, a bit of a preview of their strap match coming up at Summer Sizzler. In the end, Michael Oku sent them both over the top rope, sacrificed Francisco so that Oku could be the sole survivor. But things not getting any less heated between Gale and Francisco headed into that strap.
Well, things not getting any less heated between anyone in Revolution Pro Wrestling. And again, it's always a catalyst, these Revolution tags, just crazy chaos, star-studded extravaganzas that they are. And then, yeah, JJ Gale, David Francisco, Summer Sizzler, they're having a strap match. There's going to be nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. They'll be connected together at the wrist by a leather strap. The only way to win the match is by touching all 4 buckles in succession. Only the second strap match in Revolution Pro Wrestling history. This one's deep, this one's personal, it's going to be emotional. Next week at Bradford Live, and there was many more stories coming out of that tag. And listen, I can give you an exclusive right now. I say it's an exclusive again, depending on when this comes out. But we're going to see a very intriguing clash. 2 teammates from that Revolution tag are going to collide this Saturday, Summer Sizzler. It's going to be Jay Joshua going one-on-one with Leon Cage.
Wow.
Very much big bro versus little bro in that one. The Battle of Wales.
So a bit of a fallout between those two in this match.
Yeah, and look, you need to go back. We saw miscommunication. Miscommunication led to Connor Mills getting eliminated by Michael Oku. Miscommunication led to Leon Cage getting eliminated, and then in turn, Jay Joshua getting eliminated. So it was very much cause and effect. And Leon, you saw, had a smile on his face. He was, he made a mistake. He recognized he made a mistake. But Jay Joshua in this super fight season, we know he's going one-on-one with Zack Sabre Jr. August 29th, live from Yovo Arena, Wembley. He didn't take it too kindly at all. And you saw him chasing Leon Cage to the back, immediately demanding the match. I guess he wants a bit of tough love for Leon Cage, Summer Sizzler. But again, what a contest that promises to be.
Unbelievable. I said that was the last thing I was going to ask you. There was one more thing I forgot. Not because I don't care about his welfare, of course, but James Ellis was possibly the victim of what looked like a pretty nasty arm breaker by Xander Bryant at the conclusion of that tag match tonight between Leighton Buzzard and Top Tier against the Flying Bryant. So you got any update on that?
No. So again, this is another one of those situations, like we say, like James Ellis, he was in a lot of pain. He was seen by medics afterwards. He wasn't available for the backstage comments afterwards alongside Leighton Buzzard and Josh Holley. Obviously, he picked up a win for his team. But yeah, I've heard whisperings that Leighton Buzzard is trying to sue Xander.
This is the thing, though, with these guys, because they're like, it's like the boy who cried wolf. Like, if James Ellis says he's hurt, you don't necessarily believe him.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing as well, though, isn't it? Because, Leighton Buzzard has already, he tried to get Joe Lando suspended. He's like that. He's like that football player that waves the imaginary card in front of the face, right? But look, we'll see what happens with James Ellis. But again, swelling has to go down. He's going to need an X-ray on the arm. See how he's doing. Again, he's hurting today. We'll see how he is in the week. But I think realistically, look, if he's going to be any part of Summer Sizzler, he's not going to be a part of Summer Sizzler now. So yeah, that's all I've got on James Ellis right now. And we will keep people up to date.
Last thing. Last chance. Can you give me any more exclusives? Any more matches you're prepared to tell us for Summer Sizzler?
Oh no, just keep checking out. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, please. Thank you. We're trying to grow it one fan at a time. What else can I tell you? I tell you, I went on a site visit at Wembley this past Monday, and I was even more excited than ever to be stood in the OVO Arena, Wembley, an empty shell, and to imagine what's going to happen on August 29th. So we're very excited. We're ramping everything up in the lead up to Wembley. So that's kind of cool and exciting. You saw, obviously, information about our shows in Paris this coming September. So that's going to be... The mailing list will become live. Well, as you see this, it'll probably become live. So check that out. Sign up to the mailing list to get part of the exclusive mailing list pre-sale. Trying to think what else has been going on, what else is happening. Obviously, we'll release all the information about Tramshed Cardiff now, unfinished business, August 16th. We'll release all that information this week. Bandito will be back in Revolution Pro Wrestling. Again, very excited about that. Look, let's not forget July 26th, we're live in Coventry. And obviously I can confirm that Shayna Baszler, Zoe Serrano, Jessica Troy, Jungle Kiona, they will all be in action in Coventry 24 hours after the Women's Grand Prix. So that makes that show even more star-studded.
Of course, there's a very good chance that by then one of them could be the number one contender as well.
Absolutely, and that makes things even more spicy, doesn't it? So all of these things to look forward to get excited by. It's just been a great time. And look, I just want to make one last thing. It's not really a news plug, whatever, but I just want to give a special shout out to everyone who's attended our shows over the last few weeks, because look, we've been going through this crazy heat wave in the UK. And it's very hard to get people to get tickets for anything, when the weather's like it is. And also, obviously, this little thing called the World Cup's been going on as well, which has been capturing people's attention. But still, people are coming out to our shows week in, week out. And it's very humbling for that to be, continuing to happen on this road to Wembley. And I appreciate the support of everyone as we continue to grow this, And when I first got involved in professional wrestling, everyone would say, don't like July, August, just avoid those months, unless it's a holiday camp, a paid for show, just avoid the summer. And
so you decided to react to that by booking the Over Arena Win.
Well, I decided to react to that, by booking our biggest show ever in the summer, and to put on a schedule where we're literally running shows each and every single week, with the next one coming Saturday, Bradford Live, Summer Sizzler 2026. So if you're one of these northern fans who's always like, when are you coming up north? Or we want you further up north, we're edging slowly.
We're up north today.
And like we're edging an hour further down up the road, next Saturday, and it's an early show as well, so don't forget it's a 2 p.m. bell time, it's a 3 p.m. kickoff, so everyone can be home nice and early. Get ready for Sunday, because it's going to be the World Cup final. England going to dispose of Argentina this Wednesday, World Cup final on Sunday, 24 hours after Summer Sizzler. Let's go, it's coming home.
Yeah, football's coming home on Sunday. The Slater Dojo coming home on Saturday at Summer Sizzler. We'll see you there in Bradford. In the meantime, thanks for joining us.